Previously on the last Pokémon Crystal challenge run, and even greater apologies for beating up your fish, and coming up. And the game is showing us exactly what it means by the number bloody 4. Welcome back to 4 Moves. This is a series where we grab a Pokemon, we give it 4 moves, we put it against the clock, and we see just how long it takes us to defeat Dread. Sometimes we have a bit of a tough time, and other times we end up with a really good run. And today I think it's going to be the latter. We're going to be running Porygon2 today. It is a former champion of 2 leaderboards here on the channel. It was the Just the Battles champion right the way through when we did that series well over 3 years ago. And it also topped the main series leaderboard for quite some time. So there's no pressure then going into this one for Porygon2. Definitely not majorly high expectations of a good winning time. Now, in order to get the run started, we do of course need to pick our moves. And for this one, I'm going to treat it a little bit like Supermon Light. I've decided to go against Hidden Power and Return on this challenge. I spent quite a long time deliberating between all the different permutations of moves, and I really don't think we need Hidden Power for Porygon2. It would literally just be for Jasmine, and then that move would be a dead weight around our neck for the rest of the challenge. I'm also going to be focusing mostly on 105 in special attack with our learn set. I think we'll be just fine with Tri-Attack, it's base 80 power, Return maxes out at base 102 power, so there isn't that much difference, and then going for something like Thunderbolt, Psychic and Ice Beam will give us fantastic special coverage across this challenge. We've got Ice Beam to freeze pesky bulky Pokemon, and then we've got Psychic to drop the special defense if it gets buffed. And now, before taking a look at our stats, we will take a look at the stats of our previous Porygon2 challenges. We've run it 3 times together here on the channel in Pokémon Crystal. We started off with a 142.25 for the start of the Just the Battle series. That was back in September 2022, so at the very beginning of the channel. We then gave it its main series challenge where we evolved from Porygon into Porygon2 in July 2023, and we topped the leaderboard there. And then just a few months ago in July last year, we gave it a stream and we got a 122.31 with an Unbound rules. Those are the previous results for Porygon2. I'm hoping to beat all 3 of those today. We'll have to see if that comes to fruition, but we'll start by taking a look at our stats. We are level 5 with 25 HP, holding a berry with Tri-Attack, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt and Psychic, 14 in attack, 15 in defense, 17 in special attack, 16 in special defense, and 12 in speed. Now, I do just want to stress it's not going to be a like-for-like comparison for this challenge. We do have strong moves from the start of this one, and none of those runs followed the exact same rule set, so it's all slightly different. And with all that out of the way, we'll get the challenge started. I think we're in for a fairly smooth ride with Porygon2. We know it's a good Pokemon, we've seen it a few times together already, and it's always overperformed compared to what I think it will do, so let's hope we've not hit its ceiling with its previous results. Tri-Attack's going to one-shot most things that we see on the way up to Mr. Pokemon's house, and I've given the rival the Totodile line there just because I had to give the rival one of the 3 lines. There we go, there's our first non-one-shot, but I reckon that was a range. Now, the one downside of Tri-Attack is that it's only got 10 power points, so we are going to probably need to pick up an extra PP up or 2 throughout the course of this challenge, just so that we can keep on spamming our main and only stab move in this challenge. I'm also going to be very curious to see whether Tri-Attack's early game benefits will outweigh having to wait for a move like Return to build up in power for the late game. Because Return only really actually builds up to its top power by the time you get to Claire, which is great for Claire and onwards, but there's that huge chunk of the early game where that move really is not that useful at all. Now, we're going into the rival at 1 minute and 20 seconds. It should be a 2-shot, I reckon, against his Totodile. You never know, we might get a lucky status. We didn't, but we do get damageless, so we can get through very easily. And Porygon2 is actually one of my favourite Pokemon. I always forget it exists, but when I remember its existence, I'm very fond of it. I don't know if you're like that. with any Pokemon, please do let me know. If there's a Pokemon you keep forgetting about, and then when you do remember it, you think, actually, I'm really, really fond of this one. I don't think Porygon really gets anywhere near the amount of recognition that it should do from the Pokemon Company. Obviously, there's a whole controversy around its anime episode where it wasn't actually Porygon that caused the issues, but it seems to have been banished from the anime forever. At least since I've kept up with the anime, which hasn't been for a while, I will be honest with you all. Now we will make our way towards Violet City, where we will go straight into our first gym. We had a very quick run up to Violet City there, just a couple of extra encounters, and we're going to go straight into our first gym together now. We don't one-shot the Spearow, which is a little bit concerning, but we have grown up to level 8. And then we should be able to one-shot both of these Pidgey. We're in a very good position, actually, where we've got 2 sets of super effective moves for the flying types. So we really do have our choice. Growing up to level 9 against Birdkeeper Rod, we're very quickly going to use an extra berry, just for a teeny tiny bit of insurance, and we'll take on Falkner. He is our first gym leader together today, a flying type specialist, who leads with Pidgey. So one-shot on the Pidgey, and it is also a one-shot on the Pidgeotto. Very glad that it was a one-shot, because I said the word also there before I knew for sure. 343 for the Zephyr badge, a flying start for this very non-flying duck. My mother-in-law actually believes that all ducks can't fly, and I've never been able to convince her otherwise. So that's just a little bit of squidgy lore for you. We'll grab the escape rope now, and we'll start making our way towards Violet City. And I think in this one, you know, we don't need to take on that many extra trainers. Our biggest issue is going to be our speed, so we will be holding the Quick Claw, and we're just going to take on a few trainers as well, to try and boost our stats. I'm also curious to see how much that did against the Wooper. That was probably a range. Youngster Gordon's Wooper is one of those Pokemon I like taking on just to get a rough idea of how good our stats are performing. As I mentioned in a previous video, it might even have been the last video, I don't do any pre-planning, pre-preparation for the challenges, so I use certain trainers in-game to give me a good rough idea of what exactly we are like with our stats. We took one extra step there in the cave and got punished with an encounter. In case you're not aware, actually, in Generation 2, anytime you load the map, you get a 4-step cooldown before a wild encounter will happen. That's something that we can use to spread our early game repels a little bit longer and actually reduce the risk of getting wild encounters. You see it a lot with Cianwood City and the trip over there, for instance. But in this case, we took one extra step and paid the price. Although one extra wild encounter is nothing considering we had so few on the way up to Violet City. Love taking on the Coughing Line as well, regardless of who I'm running. If we've got a special attack, they are very, very easy and free one-shots. I reckon Tri-Attack will one-shot this Vulpix as well. That should be all we need to take on, really, going through here. Skip Hiker Anthony and get ourselves into Azalea Town. It's always nice, actually, to get into Azalea under the 6-minute mark. It's a sign of a very good start to a challenge, so let's hope that we can keep it up. Another little bit of information, by the way, about that 4-step cooldown is it also works for wild encounters. So if you get a wild encounter, you will then be guaranteed to not get another wild encounter for your next 4 steps. I think that they forgot to do that in certain later game installments, thinking of you, BDSP. But in Generation 2, that is absolutely a thing. In the ROM hack that I keep chipping away at every so often, I have increased that cooldown quite significantly, because I really don't like early game where you get punished because you can't find repels. Now, here in the Slowpoke Well, we're going to have a very, very easy time of it against this Coughing. One Psychic gets rid of it. We grow to 15, and we have defeated Team Rocket. For the first of 3 times, Kurt saps the old secret potion like he normally does, and we'll go straight into the next gym. We have super effective moves for most of the Pokemon in here, so it's not going to be a tricky endeavour by any stretch of the imagination. Trying to preserve some Tri-Attack power points, though, because we've got to make it last all the way through until Goldenrod. Ice Beam should be fine on the Caterpie, and if it's fine on the Caterpie, it's fine for the Weedle. And I do think this is one of very few places where we still will do full trainers. It's not that big a time loss to take on all of the trainers here in this gym. And it does give us that little bit of extra experience. We can Psychic this to one-shot it away. And then against Bugcatcher Josh, we can just eliminate his Paras with an Ice Beam. Risking it here, going in with 2 HP already lost against Bugsy. Second gym leader, Bug-type Specialist, leads with Metapod. We'll Ice Beam the Metapod and grow out to 17, it goes down in 1. If we get rid of the Metapod in 1, we're guaranteed to get rid of the Kakuna in 1. Scyther outspeeds, but it gets frozen. So we lost a whole 2 or 3 HP of damage in that battle. 835 for the Hive badge. We know Porygon2's good. I didn't quite think it would be this good in the early game. Let's get rid of Rival 2. Gonna be no problems here either. Leads with Ghastly. We've got Psychic for the Ghastly. We can get it away before it even has a chance to do anything. We'll Psychic the Zubat as well. And then it's probably going to be a pair of Tri-Attack on the Croconaw. Absolutely perfect. 9 minutes on the nose for the second rival battle. This is going to be a blooming short video at this rate, isn't it? I wonder what is going to be the final time. I really often don't like thinking about the final time this early on in the challenge, but we have saved a lot of time in the early time sync, so I reckon sub 120 is definitely on the cards. I'm going to try for even better than that, but I've not been playing at my best lately, so I cannot guarantee it. I'm just going to give it a bloody good go and see exactly how quickly we can defeat this challenge. Struggling a little bit there to get the ether, and we did get punished by another random encounter because my movement was slightly messed up. And we're getting another encounter here. We do want to take on Picnicagina. She is really good early game experience, and she is a very easy fight for our Porygon2. We'll just use Psychic. It's going to be super effective against her Bulbasaur, and it is enough to one-shot her Hoppip. There we go, nice and easy, Gina. And now that we're in Goldenrod, we will grab the bike and we'll go into the underground. We'll take on these 2 mandatory trainers. They are mandatory later on in the challenge, so I do like taking them on now, so that when PP is more of an issue during the Rocket Radio Tower section, they are already out of the way. We can easily manage our PP at this point. I reckon Ice Beam's even going to one-shot these Magnemite here. Now, thinking of Magnemite, that is the one Pokemon I am worried about facing throughout the course of this challenge. We don't have anything great for it, but it doesn't show up quite as often as other Pokemon do, which needed a bit more attention. Let's get out of here and let's get into the game corner to grab our rental Abra. We need the coin case to get the Abra, and we need the Abra to be able to teleport back to Goldenrod City. And now with the rental Abra safely in hand, we can do our first sweep up north here in Goldenrod. We're going to get caught by Picnica Kim. She should be a one-shot on her Vulpix. I think overall at the moment we're doing very, very well on this challenge. There's been nothing so far that I think has been a large threat to our Porygon2. And looking ahead, I think right the way up until Jasmine will have a fairly smooth ride. I did pick up the Persecure Berry south of Violet City, just so that we've got something to hold on to for the Jasmine fight should we need it. But I think much like in a couple of previous challenges, we'll take on Jasmine 7th. Now, this item here is very, very important for this challenge. The Quick Claw is going to be vital for us to get a few hits in before some of the faster opponents, and that way we will not have to lose time with the opponents going first and draining our HP. We'll use our 3 Tri-Attacks here against the Kadabra. We'll grow up to 22, and then there's only one more trainer I want to take on before taking the trip back to Goldenrod, and that is this Tangela. We've got an Ice Beam that will one-shot, so there's absolutely no harm in it taking him on. That's Floria spoken to for the first time. Let's move the rental Abra up into 2nd spot. And then after a very, very quick PP heal, we can make our way into gym number 3. This is Whitney's gym. Before taking on any of the trainers, I am going to put on the Quick Claw so I don't forget. And we will now engage Lascarry in battle. She is our only mandatory trainer in here. We should be able to 1 or 2 shot the Snubble, taking a tiny bit of damage en route. And with her defeated, let's go straight to the main event. This is Whitney. She is our 3rd gym leader together today. A normal type specialist, leads with Clefairy. Clefairy's glowing, but we get rid of it before it has a chance to do anything. Miltank locks itself into rollout, and it gets frozen solid. That means we get a very, very easy victory there. Just 3 shots on the cow to knock it out, and we defeat Whitney to obtain the playing badge in 13 minutes and 37 seconds. Not bad at all. I was kind of hoping for a 2-shot there, but Tri-Attack isn't the strongest move in the world, but it does have its benefits. That freeze there could have potentially saved us from a KO. Now, I do think that if Whitney had crit there with rollout, there was a very good chance of us getting knocked out. We're on the way to Olivine City now. We have bypassed Ecruteak, as we always do. I think for a Pokemon like Porygon especially, I misclicked there. I didn't mean to use Thunderbolt, I meant to use Psychic. I think for a Pokemon like Porygon, it is absolutely worth taking the extra little 7-second detour to get these Pokemon knocked out first. The time we lose in movement, we will easily gain by not 2 or 3-shotting Pokemon on the battles in Ecruteak City, because a lot of them are fairly bulky actually for this point of the challenge, so it makes sense to do these first. We've also got something to one-shot most of these opponents, not only on the routes but on the Lighthouse as well. I often take on Sailor Eugene, by the way, because I forget that you need to hug the left-hand side going back up, so he ends up taking us on anyway, and we take a bit more of a time loss because he does have to do his movement towards us. Here in Olivine, I always get strength on the first pass through as well. Just makes sure that I don't have to think about it on the way back to Cianwood, and it gets it out of the way again. It's like half a second to do the extra movement there as opposed to later on, and I'm not one of those players who min-maxes the heck out of everything. I've only got a very small brain capacity anyway, so I don't need to overload it with extra bits and pieces. We're getting very unlucky, I think, with the ranges today. I'm fairly certain we've had about 5 or 6 ranges already where we could have one shot. It's just the RNG gave us a fairly low roll. We should be able to one-shot these Growlithe, though. These used to be the bane of my existence doing challenge runs, because they both have Roar. I'm thinking especially a lot of the grass types we ran, when we had the HM friends in the party, we would lose quite a bit of time because of that gentleman. So there was one point on the channel where he was a little bit of a villain. Nowadays, though, there are far bigger fish to fry. Thinking of you, Cool Trainer Darren. Although I am wondering who will be the next main villain in the series. There's always going to be a villain for me on the channel. There's always going to be somebody who's actually pretty innocent, but we can make a big thing out of them. Just because I think the in-game lore needs a little bit of expansion. We'll do our PP heal here in Olivine, rather, and we'll get ourselves back to Ecruteak, where we'll go straight into the dance theatre. The Kimono Girls have been as easy as you would expect the Kimono Girls to be when you're running a strong normal type. It was 1 and 2 shots across the board. We froze the Umbreon, actually, to make sure it couldn't even hit us, and everything else was a one-shot. We will get ourselves HM03 and the Raft from the man staring at the stage, and now we have to go into the Burnt Tower in order to progress. We will stick on a regular repel. We'll actually move both sets of repels up to the top of the bag at this point, and we will prepare for rival number 3. The only slightly dangerous Pokemon he's got here is his Magnemite, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to at least 1 or 2 shot it. We outspeed the Haunter and we can one-shot it with a Psychic. Magnemite's up next. Let's use Tri-Attack and hope for the best. Sonic Boom's fine. It didn't Thunder Wave us. That was the only thing I was worried about. I'm not actually sure if Magnemite has Thunder Wave in this battle, but if it does, we got very lucky there. Rest of the battle, easy as you would expect, and we will now fall through the floor. We'll release the beast. We'll be a bit of a mean person to Useem by completely ignoring him, and we'll make our way in to gym number 4. And now, with all of the gym trainers taken care of here in Morty's gym, we can focus on Morty himself. Going to heal up to max HP using a potion, and I think, just for a little bit of insurance, we will hold on to the Mint Berry. I'm not convinced that we're going to outspeed his Gengar, so holding on to the Mint Berry should mean we are able to get through without being sent properly to sleep. And we'll just spam Psychic in this battle. One of the beauties of our learn set that we've chosen is that it is incredibly diverse when it comes to type coverage. There we go, one-shotting the Gengar, and we get rid of the Haunter. Another badge down, that is Morty's badge, the Fog badge, in 21 minutes and 6 seconds. We know what comes after a trip to Morty. We get ourselves over to the Lake of Rage. Going to take on a few trainers around the lake before we do the Gyarados, and the first one is in Mount Mortar. And that trainer is Pokemaniac Miller. He's got a pair of fully evolved Nidos, and they are really good early game experience. It's worth taking the few seconds to wander in to say hello to him, because it is absolutely brilliant experience. Not only regular experience, but stat experience as well. And then we can face another Nido here, courtesy of Pokemaniac Ron. We've got another Ice Beam for that. And then there is another fully evolved trainer I like taking on here. That is this Pokemaniac. Pokemaniac Ben with his Slowbro. We've got Thunderbolt. We will one-shot it. And we're going to be using Thunderbolt in our next battle as well, because it's going to be against the Gyarados. Hoping for a one-shot here. Might not get it. We will have to see. Why did I doubt our Porygon2 there? Easy one-shot. Let's chat with this so-and-so. And then we can go and get the rare candy up towards the hidden powerhouse. If there weren't two TMs in such close proximity here, I probably wouldn't bother going to grab either of them individually. But because they are so close to each other, it's a good amount of money, and quite often when I do the first vitamin shop, we are only a couple of thousand Pokédollars away from being able to buy an extra vitamin, so I do find it works out in the end. Let us now, though, get across the open seas. We've had terrible luck with wild encounters, so I'm going to use one of our very precious super repels now, as opposed to a regular repel, to guarantee that we don't get stung by any jellyfish on our way over to Cyanwood. Now, this gym here is one where we technically have the type disadvantage, but then again, we've got Psychic and a very strong Tri-Attack, so I'm not quite sure they can really do anything against us. We're going to use Tri-Attack actually on Hitmonlee. It's got lower physical defense than special defense, and if we get through the Hitmonchan, this is going to be a very, very easy gym battle. Thunder Punch didn't paralyze us. I think we're fine in this gym, you know. Yeah, we one-shot everything on the way up to Morty. We'll keep hold of the Mint Berry just in case, and we'll take on Chuck, not Morty. Chuck is our 5th gym leader together today. A fighting type specialist, leads with Primeape. It's a one-shot with Psychic on the Primeape. We'll swap to Thunderbolt for the Poliwrath. It's going to be a 2-shot. He didn't even bother to attack us. And that was a very, very nice gym battle. Storm Badge acquired in 24:48. We're back under 5 minutes an average for each gym badge, although we do now have a little bit of housekeeping to get on with. And then we're going to be going into Mahogany. And with that, we've made it into the next Rocket section. I was thinking, actually, when I was picking up those items, I don't think this time last year I would have allowed myself to do this learn set on Porygon2. Something I'm trying to focus on more this year is having fun with challenge running again in general. Instead of focusing entirely on min-maxing, instead of focusing on trying to get the best possible times, I want to try and have those interesting learn sets again. That's what we focused on at the very beginning of the channel. I tried to make the learn sets a little bit different to what you would normally expect from a regular challenge runner, and we ended up getting some very good times regardless. So I think that's what I'm going to try and do here. Think a little bit more outside the box again, because that really is a very fun way of playing. Now, I was never going to make you sit through the rest of the Mahogany hideout. We've skipped to the very end where we've got the Bath Plug and the Whirlpool HM from that little liar over there. We can get out of here and we'll go into our next gym together. This is Price's Ice-type gym, but there's a lot of water types on show as well, and would you look at that? We've got Thunderbolt, which is super effective against water types, so I think we're in for a fairly good time here. Just got to get through Border Douglas, and with him out of the way, it's time for Price. Price is our 6th gym leader together today. He is an Ice-type specialist, leads with Seal. Seal's weak to Thunderbolt, it goes down in 1. Up next is Dugong. We'll use Thunderbolt again, and it's going to be a 2-shot. And then we've just got the Piloswine left to go. I reckon, you know, Psychic's going to be our best option here, because it should prevent him healing looping just like that. When we get through Price to obtain our next badge, the Glacier badge, in 30 minutes and 47 seconds. And with that, we've put her off for long enough. I think we have to go and face Jasmine next. Now, just on the off chance it makes a difference, I think we're going to have a little chat with Tuscany of Tuesday. She is the way to get the early pink bow. We don't often get the early pink bow in these challenges, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and I think it's going to be all about the desperation with Jasmine. Maybe we can bump things up to a 2-shot range. I know I was thinking about holding on to the Prosecure Berry, but I want to try the pink bow as well, just to see if that does make the difference, because Magnemite isn't particularly strong, so we might get lucky. This could be a bit of a misplay, though. We will have to see. That's the fun, actually, of doing everything as and when in the run, as opposed to pre-planning. You do make these off-the-cuff decisions. Sometimes they work in your favour. Other times it was a little bit of a waste of time, but it was only about 15 seconds to get that pink bow. Let us now engage her in battle. I'm not feeling great about this one. This is Jasmine. She is a Steel-type specialist. Leads with Magnemite. Yeah, the pink bow was pretty meaningless there, to be honest. Fully paralysed. I want to try and see how much we can do against this Steelix. If we can actually get around to hitting it, we get rid of both Magnemite. How much does Ice Beam do? Over half, maybe? Yes, it does. Yes! First time Jasmine. That was more luck than anything else, but that is the big, scary battle out of the way, and we've saved the Prosecure Berry for another day. It means we don't have to get the extra one in preparation for good old Lieutenant Surge. Now, we do get the call from Professor Elm. We're going to ignore it, and instead we're going to start making our way through the Ice Path. In the Ice Path, we pick up the Never Melt Ice, we pick up a couple of TMs, and we also pick up some vitamins. Those are all going to go towards making some cash money moolah so I can do a second vitamin shop. Let's get the heck out of this freezing place, though. We'll fly into Blackthorn to preserve our repel steps. In Blackthorn, we buy ourselves 12 max repels, and then we make the trip south. And will today be the day where I'm able to avoid this spinner? No, it isn't. Maybe next time. Thank goodness for Rewind. Skip that spinner, though, and I do want to get the PP up. And of course, earlier on I was talking about how you get an encounter every 4 steps at maximum, and the game is showing us exactly what it means by the number bloody 4. And now that we've done everything in the Ice Path, we can't put him off for any longer. It's time for rival number 4. I am still a little bit worried about his Magnemite, but the rest should be fine. Let's take him on. He's going to lead with Golbat. We're going to use a Thunderbolt on the Golbat. We'll knock it out in one super effective hit. And up next is that pesky Magnemite. Now, Ice Beam and Tri-Attack are probably going to do the same here. We do get the one-shot, thank goodness. Haunter's next. We'll use an Ice Beam on that. And the penultimate Pokemon is Sneasel. Tri-Attack's going to make light work of the Sneasel. And then we've got a Thunderbolt for Alligator. Seems like my controller's on the fritz there. I've had a couple of misclicks today. Might need to get myself a new one. I average a new controller every 2 years or so doing challenge runs. I really do hammer the D-pad on these controllers, and a lot of modern controllers are made with the analog sticks in mind, and the D-pad is kind of secondary, but I like having my turbo button on the back to save my thumb, so it's a little bit of a sacrifice I have to make. But now I've got to get through all of these bloomin' rockets. I'm not going to make you sit through these ones either, so we'll skip ahead to the very top of the radio tower. And now, after beating up several more rockets and taking the lunch money, it's time for the final executive. He leads with Houndour. This is going to be a very, very easy battle. You know, it's going to be hopefully 3 one-shots. That is the plan. Let's see if it comes to fruition. It absolutely does. Growing up to level 46 there. Radio Tower complete in just under 42 minutes. Now, we don't need to speak to Marie today because we've already got our own pink bow. A better pink bow than Marie could ever give us. So we're going to skip her. And we're going to go straight down to get the radio card. This is vital for us to get, because otherwise we'll be stuck in Kanto and we'll never be able to end the run. I pressed yes there. Don't lie to me, game. Radio card acquired. That means we are now on our way back to Blackthorn City. And there's only one more thing for us to do in Blackthorn, since we've done everything else. and that's take care of the gym. I don't think we're in for a very tough time in this gym whatsoever. We do have a super effective Ice Beam for any of the dragon types that come up, but we can just use Tri-Attack on some of the weaker ones so that we don't have to sit through the super effective text. And now, after defeating all of Claire's mandatories, we can take on Claire herself. She is our final gym leader of Johto. She's a Dragon-type specialist, leads with Dragonair. Taking a risk here and going for Tri-Attack against the Dragonair to try and save on that super effective text again. And it seems like it has paid off. I wonder if the pink bow helps there. As for the Kingdra, maybe a Psychic to get us started. She's gone straight for Surf, and then I think a Tri-Attack will finish her off quite nicely. That is Claire defeated, but we don't have her badge yet. She is a right fusspot. She is throwing a strop and making us go into the Dragon's Den. We'll make the best of a bad situation though, because it means we get to make fun of cool trainer Darren here with his absolutely pathetic Dragonair that we will one-shot with yet another Tri-Attack. We'll make some noises that we probably can't repeat on YouTube as we leave his vicinity. We'll grab this Max Elixir, we'll make our way through this Whirlpool, and we will go and answer the survey in here. Hopefully the game will approve of our answers this time, unlike in the radio tower. Yes, it does, and that means we can get our next badge. I'm always happy with sub-hour Claire. I'm even happier with sub-50-minute Claire, but this is sub-45-minute Claire, 44.53 for the Rising badge. That does now mean we can start making our way towards Victory Road. And now, on our way up to Victory Road, we took on only a couple of optional extra trainers. I think Porygon2 is now at the point where it can definitely withstand most of the opponents, if not all of them, that are going to come up in front of us. We are going to now head into Victory Road then, and after getting our badges checked, we will stick on a Super Repel, and I think, you know, just in case we are going to hold onto the Prosecure Berry, I did end up going and grabbing a second one because I don't think the Magneton is going to be a particularly safe Pokemon to be going up against. The entire crux of our Karen strat relies on that HP up, which is why we picked that up there. And now we'll engage the rival in one last battle. He leads with Sneasel, goes down in one. Up second is Golbat. Does Tri-Attack one shot? Not blooming quite, for goodness sake. We have two-shot it though. Here comes Magneton. Please don't hit yourself in confusion. We have recovered and we can two-shot the Magneton. Brilliant stuff. We'll swap to an Ice Beam for the Haunter, save on some super effective text, and we will continue Ice Beaming against the Kadabra as well. That just leaves for Alligator. For Alligator's harmless, we've got a Thunderbolt, and we have defeated the rival for one last time in about 48 minutes and just shy of 30 seconds. We'll now do a very quick PP heal. We will grab our full restores from the guard at the gate. We want just 4 of them. And then we will park ourselves in front of the stairs going into the Pokémon League. We'll take a look at our stats and we'll do some predictions. And here is how we are shaping up going into the League. We are level 50 with 174 HP, holding the pink bow with Tri-Attack, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt and Psychic. Don't forget those are the 4 moves we chose at the start of this challenge. 122 in attack, 126 in defense, 146 in special attack, 136 in special defense, but just 99 in speed. Now those are the out of battle stats. We will be getting a big buff in battle, as we'll see in a moment, against Will. As for this league, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. We don't have many dangerous Pokemon to come up against, so I'm hoping that we have a fairly clear ride, although of course Karen is always that giant question mark in these challenges. Our first league member is Will. We will take him on now. He is a Psychic type specialist and he's going to lead with Xatu. Going to take no risks against Xatu and go for Ice Beam there. We will, however, try attack the Jinx. She's got no physical defense whatsoever. Back to Ice Beam for the Executor and we get a lovely one-shot growing up to level 51. Here comes Slowbro. Thunderbolt should one-shot. We've got massive special attack. And that brings us on to the next Xatu. A Thunderbolt takes care of it, and we have defeated Will in a time of 49 minutes and 13 seconds. Up second is Koga. Koga is a Poison-type specialist with a bit of a penchant for the Bug-type as well, and he leads with Ariados. We'll use Psychic against the Ariados to make sure that we can knock it out in one. We'll Psychic Venomoth as well. It goes down straight away. Now here comes Fortress. Fortress is probably going to be a Thunderbolt-worthy Pokemon. He goes for Spikes and he's stalling for no good reason. but it gets him nowhere in the end. I reckon it's back to Psychic now for the Muck. It's going to be a 2-shot and hopefully Psychic doesn't miss just like that. No poison from the Sludge Bomb though, so we are absolutely fine now for the rest of this battle. We get outsped by the Crobat, but we knock it out on our first try, and we get through in 49.54. Just going to do a very quick heal for Bruno, and we'll engage him in battle. The dangerous Pokemon here is going to be his Machamp. I reckon the Machamp could do great damage to us if it crits with Cross Chop, and of course we're going to take some guaranteed damage from Hitmonchan's Mach Punch. Just like that, in fact, and a nasty crit. Right, that has turned the tables kind of against us. I don't think we're going to one-shot with a Psychic. Yep, we take a reset. That crit is probably what caused the battle to turn against us there, so we'll try again, and hopefully we don't get crit by Mach Punch this time. We were overdue a reset, to be fair. We've had a couple of lucky escapes in the recent history, so I don't really mind one reset against Bruno. He's not a slow trainer on this particular occasion. Cross Chop has hit, Cross Chop did not crit, and that means we have secured the victory. And yep, that critical hit from Mach Punch is what sealed our fate last time. But we're still on a very good time as we get through Bruno in 59.59, lost about 20 seconds there in total. Lots of prep work now for Karen. We are going to use 5 rare candies here to get us up to level 58, save some for the red battle. We'll hold on to a HP up, and then we will equip one of our 2 bitter berries as well. That's all the prep work we can do for Karen. Let's take her on. She is our final League member, a Dark-type specialist who leads with Umbreon. Got nothing to one-shot the Umbreon, and we do get stand attacks. It's not a foolproof strategy, the HP up trick, and it didn't work this time. We don't get paralysed by the Vileplume though, and we will swap to Psychic for the Gengar. We connect, so the big threats of this battle are now out of the way. We can try attack the Murkrow, it'll go down in 1, and then I'm hoping it'll be a one-shot on the Houndoom as well. We get the one-shot, so we defeat Karen, and we get through her in 51.49. That just means there's one obstacle between us and the Hall of Fame. It's time for Lance, the liar with the flyers, and he's going to lead with Gyarados. We got Thunderbolt for Gyarados. It'll go down straight away as we grow up to level 59. Up next is Dragonite number 1. We've got Ice Beam. We know what's going to happen. It's quad super effective. Plus, don't forget we have the badge boost from Price at the moment, so Ice Beam is slightly more powerful than Thunderbolt, because we don't get the badge boost for Thunderbolt until we defeat Lieutenant Surge. However, there are some Pokemon that need a Thunderbolt to the face, including that Charizard. And then we will finish off with an Ice Beam on the last Dragonite. Level 60 acquired, but more importantly, Lance has been defeated. Time of 52 minutes and 32 seconds for the Lance split. And that means we can enter into the Hall of Fame. And let's see what our final Hall of Fame time is for this challenge. We are clocking in at 52 minutes and 48 seconds. That is a really good run up until this point. Should we take a look at the midpoint leaderboards? And for our 4 moves midpoint leaderboard, Porygon2 is in second place, just 2 seconds behind Octillery there. A really good start for this Pokemon. And now if we take a look at the overall midpoint leaderboard, we are in a very nice 18th place, just behind Octillery again, but just a second ahead of Flamigo. This is only half the story though, don't forget. Porygon2 might have had a smooth ride through Johto, but it can all change. There are still another 8 gym badges plus the red fight left to come, so I tell you what, don't you dare go anywhere, because Kanto is next. And we are rejoining the action as we always do here in Vermilion City, where the first thing we'll do in Kanto is pick up a rare candy from the chairman of the Pokemon Fan Club. Now, I've already prepared ourselves for the Lieutenant Surge battle by holding on to the extra Prosecure Berry, so hopefully we'll be able to do our standard Kantonian routing. We've got an electric rat and an electric sheep to get through before we even think about Surge though, so let's beat them both up. And now we will engage Surge in battle. He is our first Kantonian gym leader, an electric type specialist, and he leads with a Raichu. We're going to use Tri-Attack against the Raichu, we'll knock it out in 1. Electrode is out next, and we do outspeed it, thank goodness. Third up on the chopping block is going to be Magneton. He goes for Double Team as opposed to any kind of paralysis move, so we are absolutely fine now for the rest of the battle. Just a couple more tri-attacks takes care of Surge. Almost but not quite at 61, and we obtain the Thunder Badge in 54.53. I'm going to try and get 3 badges in under the hour mark on this particular challenge. We'll have to see if that comes to fruition. Our next one is going to be in Celadon City, but thinking of Surge being an electric leader, I can see a universe where Porygon2 is an electric type. I was speaking about this to somebody else earlier on today in planning for this challenge, and yeah, it doesn't quite feel like it fits in with the normal type. I'm very glad that it is a normal type, because it makes this challenge an awful lot easier. But Porygon2 has never really felt like it's fit in with most of the other normal types. It's always seemed to me, though, like normal is the placeholder type if they can't make it fit anywhere else. Is that the same for you? Are there any other normal types you think would fit in that category? And in the same point, do you think something like Voltorb and Electrode could have gotten away with being a normal type if that is how they're categorizing it? Because they're both kind of non-real Pokemon in that sense, aren't they? We're going to use an Elixir here just to make sure we've got enough Tri-Attacks to see us through to our next Pokemon Center heal. This is Erica. She's a Grass-type specialist, leads with Tangela. Got to use an Ice Beam on the Tangela. It's got far too much physical defense to go for Tri-Attack, but we should be fine for using Tri-Attack, at least against these two. We'll swap back to Ice Beam for the Blossom, just to be doubly safe, growing to 62. And defeating Erica to obtain the Rainbow Badge in 56.27. Let us get out of here. We'll get on the bike and we'll make our way in to Fuchsia City. Gonna try and do the best possible movement here on the bike going into Fuchsia. I do want to pick up the extra Max Elixir that's hiding there on Cycling Road. And we do have the one mandatory trainer, Birdkeeper Bob, with his Noctowl. Noctowl is a bulky Pokemon, but it's very underleveled, so we don't need to worry about this particular one. And we'll enter into the next gym. This is Janine. She is a Poison-type specialist, and she's going to lead with Crobat. We do outspeed the Crobat, so we'll knock it out in one, and up second is going to be her first Weezing. Tri-Attack's more than capable of one-shotting it, and it'll do the same against the second Weezing. She's got a pair of bugs coming out last, starting with the Ariados. It goes away. Are you going to use your Dire Hit today, Janine? No, you're not. Saving a bit of time. Janine is defeated. Time of 57.26 for the Soul Badge. I always think that the Soul and Marsh Badge should be the other way around, you know. I quite often don't call out the badge names because I'll get them mixed up. I think that's the right way round, but you never know. I could have got it wrong this time as well. Now we've got a backwards rock tunnel trip on our hands, so I'll skip ahead to the end. And now we are out the other end of the rock tunnel. We'll go into the power plant. We'll have a little chat with the manager, who's absolutely incompetent at his job. He must be really, really the only person who knows anything about any kind of generators in Kanto if he's got his job. And now we will make our way back to Saffron, where we have another gym leader to take care of. This is Sabrina. She is a Psychic-type specialist, and I don't think she'll see what's coming to her in this particular one. We have a Porygon2. We have 3 one-shots on our hand, starting with Tri-Attack, middling with Tri-Attack, and for a change, we will end with Tri-Attack as well. That was a very nice Sabrina battle there. Time of 59.17. 59.18 is the official time for that split. So we've managed to get ourselves 4 Cantonian badges in under an hour. This is really, really good timing for our Porygon2. But after defeating Sabrina, there's only one thing for it. It is time for Nugget Bridge. Now, something I have been thinking about for Nugget Bridge is doing it as a little Q&A, just one question, maybe 2 per Nugget Bridge, depending on how long the ramble is for the answer. I never feel important enough to do one of those big Q&A videos that a lot of content creators make, but it is nice, especially if you've got questions about why I make certain decisions in the challenges. It's a nice place to try and fill a couple of answers in each time. So if you do have any questions at all, not just about the runs, but in general, I will try and get them answered throughout Nugget Bridge, because honestly, this section is a slog, and if I think about what I'm doing, time grinds to an absolute halt. I really don't know what Game Freak were thinking when they made this Nugget Bridge mandatory. There's absolutely no need for it. It is a waste of everybody's time because it's not like you're battling good Pokemon. You get a very low-leveled Nidoking there, and that's about the highlight of the entire endeavour. Look at this, a level 29 Paris. We've beaten the Pokemon League, mate. What do you think you're playing at? I appreciate that you probably don't know where Johto is, but still, 32 Parasects. Why? Why is that a mandatory trainer? Why do we have to do this in order to defeat Misty? Look at that, a 36 Porygon. We've got a Porygon2. You could have at least had one to show people that the bloody thing exists. Anyway, I'll try and calm down now. I'm going to use a max elixir at this point, and we'll get ourselves back into Cerulean, where we have another gym leader on our hands. This one is Misty. She is a water-type specialist, and she's going to lead with Golduck. We're going to use Tri-Attack. Why change the habit of a lifetime? It goes down in one. We'll use an Ice Beam on the Quagsire, take advantage of it being part ground type. We'll use a Thunderbolt on the Lapras, take advantage of it being weak to electricity. And then I think stick with a Thunderbolt for the Starmie, play it safe there. No need to take unnecessary risks to get the Cascade badge in a 101.47. Now we mustn't forget the machine part, otherwise we'll be up the creek without a paddle when we go to return it. And returning it is what we are doing right now. I've alluded to this in a couple of recent challenges, but I always stick on the max repel right there. That gives us enough steps now to get all the way to Pewter City without having to go in the bag for yet another repel. I say that, I've done some really tough movement in this part. Hopefully, I'll get clean movement now in Lavender and Vermilion. Gotta go into the radio tower here, have a little chat with the manager of this radio tower, who I am sure is very, very grateful for getting him back on the air. He's lost all of those audience to Johto's radio tower, just as Johto got taken over by Team Rocket. So maybe, if they ever do come back to this area in a new Pokemon game set in the future, we could see something with that. That would be nice. Now, 3Drill, we don't have time for you today, unfortunately. We are on a very good pace, so we're going to go straight into our next gym. We've got Camperjerry standing in for Campalium, but the next time we're in this gym, we should be seeing Campalium instead. And we are going to take on Brock next. Brox is the Pewter City gym leader. He's a rock-type specialist, leads with Graveler. We have super effective moves for all of Brock's Pokemon. We've got Ice Beam for his Rock Grounds, and we have Thunderbolt for his Rock Waters. So really, we are not at any risk of taking any damage at all. There goes that D-pad again. In this battle, one more Pokemon gives us the badge, and we say thank you, Brock, for a very easy battle in a time of 1 hour, 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Let's get the heck out of here. We've got to try and dodge 3Drill again, which we successfully do this time, and we can start heading south towards Cinnabar Island, or at least the remnants of it. I'm going to try the good movement here. Max Repel into Air Balloon, press up, and we get into the Pokemon Center. I feel at long last like I'm starting to play a little bit better again. I'm not quite where I was in the middle of last year in terms of performance, but I'm definitely not struggling quite as much as I have been, call it since about October-ish, where really the wheels came off the gameplay after the Zangoose challenge. I recorded that Zangoose challenge, got very, very happy, put a lot of pressure on myself though in that one. And since then, I've been struggling to get the movement quite right. Let's take on Blaine for my bad movement, though. We'll start with a Psychic against the Magcargo, and then we'll use a Psychic against the Bumphead Fireduck, and finally, we'll use a Tri-Attack against the Rapidash. 3 one-shots for our next badge. That is our penultimate badge in 104.40. Let us now rental Abra our way back to Viridian City, where we have just one more trainer to battle. It's going to be Blue. He is Viridian City's gym leader, and I think I'm going to swap to the leftovers for this battle. Just to be safe, let's now take him on. This is Blue, final trainer of the challenge, final gym leader rather of the challenge, leads with Pidgeot. We'll use Thunderbolt against Pidgeot as we grow out to 66, and we knock it out in 1. We've got Tri-Attack for the Alakazam, make sure we use its very weak physical defense there. Ice Beam on a Rhydon with no special defense is bad news for Blue. And then we'll use Thunderbolt on the Gyarados. Thunderbolt being quad super effective, he stood no chance there. Ice Beam should one-shot the Executor, and that will just leave Arcanine left to go. Gonna go for Thunderbolt here, try and keep him out of healing range. That's exactly what happens. We grow up to a very clean level 67, and we obtain the Earth Badge in a 105.41. And with that, we have all of our gym badges acquired. I'm going to full restore now and max elixir now while it is in my brain, so that way we don't forget it. We will air balloon to Pallet Town. We will have a little chat with Professor Oak. Hey, you seen our Porygon2? It's a really cool Pokemon, Oak. No, you're not bothered. Just complaining that we've seen 137 Pokemon, yet we haven't caught any of them. I wonder if he knows that we don't have the balls to do it in this particular challenge. Let's now make our way to Silver Cave. We've got one more thing we need to pick up, defeating the hardest ledge of the game there as well. And that one more thing is the final rare candy of the challenge. I keep mixing and matching, by the way, whether I cycle through or fly to that Pokemon Center. I have a feeling with good movement, cycling might end up being a little bit more efficient. Now, I've got a rare candy at this point, and I've got to make my way through the dark room in Silver Cave. So to avoid the flashing of the rare candy, we will now jump ahead to the second Silver Cave room. I just had a really clean bit of movement through there, got it through first time very, very well. And now we're in front of Red. We will take him on. He's the final trainer of the challenge. Leads with Pikachu. We don't outspeed the Pikachu, which is very annoying, but we are able to one-shot it. Up second is going to be Peskeon. Now, our lack of speed here is really what's going to bring us down. We're taking a fair amount of damage as well from Psychic there. I think our best option here is trying to get a freeze off on the Snorlax using Tri-Attack, or at least some kind of status condition would be nice. We've got the freeze. That means I am going to start trying to regain as much health as possible. Oh, goodness me, it bloody defrosted itself. That's not good. That isn't what we were after there. I'm going to take a reset. Unfortunately, the tables turned against our favour there. We got charmed. We're going to have to do the charm shuffle now for a little bit. Hopefully it won't be too long until we are able to get another crack at this one. I might end up swapping to the Quick Claw, you know. That might be the play, thinking about it. In fact, let's do that right about now. Porygon2 always has a bit of a struggle at Red, I've got to be honest, because of its low speed. I'm not sure what Porygon-Z's kind of stat spread is like, but hopefully that would be an option to give this line a little bit of a buff, maybe in the near future. Reflect is annoying more than anything else, but we are able to two-shot the Espeon. Now, can we get a lucky status condition? A lucky crit is even better, although we might need a double crit in order to do much here. One more Tri-Attack should knock it out. We can't regain HP though now, which is a little bit scary. Please freeze this Venusaur. He takes in Sunlight, that is fine for me. Now, we've got the Zard next. We get a Quick Claw proc on turn 1. He hits us with Flamethrower, but we're getting a lucky double proc. Our only chance for this Blastoise is to freeze it with Tri-Attack, and that is exactly what happens. We can finish it off with Thunderbolt, and that is Red defeated in a time of 109.10. Now, I did have to record this last bit of the voiceover in post because I swore a couple too many times, but let's now take a look at the leaderboard. And now that time of 109.10 puts us in second place on our 4 moves leaderboard, just behind Octillery and just ahead of Rapidash. I think that's fair for Porygon2. Maybe if we'd have got better luck at Bruno, we could have surpassed Octillery's time, but it didn't happen on the day. Now, if we take a look at the entire Crystal leaderboard, we are on the second page in a very, very respectable 15th place. In between Ampharos and Typhlosion, I think that's probably around about right for Porygon2. We're well ahead of the last Porygon2 challenge there in 74th place as well. So overall, I am very happy with the outcome of this one. Another day, another luck. It might have been different, but it is definitely a fair reflection of what went on. But with that, we are done. So I really hope you've enjoyed this challenge. If you have, make sure to leave a like. If you've got any feedback, by the way, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Click subscribe if you don't want to miss any more Crystal challenges just like this one, and there may be some Fire Red challenges coming up sooner than you think. But until next time, I will say a very big thank you for watching, and I will catch you all very, very soon.